Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the New York Truck Voucher Incentive Program update webinar. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll get started in just a few minutes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. See, folks are filtering in. probably give us just another minute or two, and we'll get started just before 11:05 this morning. Thank you for joining us. I see folks have already found the Q&A button, so thank you very much for submitting questions. We look forward to the conversation today and encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation. We'll have plenty of time to answer your questions today. All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get started. Thank you for joining us today's New York Truck Voucher Incentive Program Update webinar. My name is Jennifer Kritzler from CalSTART, and I'll be facilitating the discussion with you today. This morning's presentation will provide background information and updates on the New York TVIP program. Next slide, Sydney, please. Thank you. As well as details on the voucher process, funding streams, eligibility, and requirements. We'll additionally discuss resources available for charging infrastructure support, and we're going to have plenty of time to answer your questions, so please feel free to submit them using the Q&A entry throughout the presentation. We've already seen one question asked through the Q&A function, and the answer is yes, absolutely. By registering for the meeting today, you will be provided with a copy of the slides as well as the recording afterwards. So thank you very much for joining us. Next slide, please. So the New York Truck Voucher Incentive Program is administered by the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYTVIP. And I'm very pleased to have with us today Adam Lomasny and Natalie Toro. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to them for just a moment to say hello.
Sure, thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Lomasny. Want to just say thank you for joining. I'm a program manager and oversee NYSERDA's clean transportation portfolio of incentive programs. So truck voucher being one of those, and my personal favorite program. So I'm sure some people here are aware of TVIP and want to see what's updated, and others maybe not so familiar. So we just appreciate everyone attending, and also appreciate feedback. And just to reiterate that we will have FAQ, so please feel free to put your questions in the chat or afterwards, and this will be recorded and sent out to registrants later as well for follow-up. And as you can see, our contact info is here, so you ever have a question or suggestion, then feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Toro. I'm an assistant project manager at NYSERDA. I handle the day-to-day application process of TVIP. And again, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions in the FAQ.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Adam and Natalie. As I said in the introduction, my name is Jennifer Kritzler. I'm the Deputy Director in CalSTART's Northeast Regional Office. CalSTART is a clean transportation nonprofit organization that provides advisory services in the transportation sector nationwide. We have offices in California, New York, Florida, Michigan, and we focus on advancing clean technologies through our truck, bus, light duty, infrastructure, and innovative mobility programs. I'm also joined by my colleague, Sydney Hayes.
Hello.
And CalStart's one of the consultants to NYSERDA on the TVIP team. So we provide assistance and outreach support to both NYSERDA and to users of the program. Next slide, please. The Center for Sustainable Energy, CSE, is another consultant to NYSERDA on the program, and they run the Voucher Help Center. So the Voucher Help Center is designed to manage the intake of vehicle, contract, and voucher applications. And they also work with NYSERDA to approve, deny, and process each application that comes through, as well as providing a point of contact for any and all questions about the program. So if you have any questions after today's presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Voucher Help Center. They can be reached at the email address and the phone number listed on this slide. Next slide, please. All right, let's get into the meat of our discussion today. So the New York Truck Voucher Incentive Program was designed to facilitate the adoption of clean vehicles and remove the oldest diesel engines from New York roads. The program consists of a $66.3 million incentive pool supporting 100% zero emission medium and heavy duty trucks, transit buses, paratransit, shuttle buses, school buses, and repowers. The vouchers are designed to reduce the upfront purchase cost of a zero emission vehicle and reduce the payback period for zero emission vehicle operations. The Truck Voucher Incentive Program engages multiple parties, including manufacturers, dealers, and scrappage facilities, ensuring that fleets have a wide support network in order to make the transition to zero emission vehicles easier. Next slide, please. Now let's dive into the latest updates regarding the program. As of May 27, 2022, all CMEC dollars have been allocated and only Volkswagen mitigation funds are available. Volkswagen funds do require scrappage of one 2009 or older diesel vehicle per zero emission vehicle replacement. Voucher redemption timelines, have been extended from 12 to 18 months to facilitate the transition, and extensions may also be granted for up to a total of 24 months. In December of 2022, $6 million of funding was added to the electric school bus sector and $2 million additionally was added for paratransit buses at the same time. And finally, in order to encourage adoption of cargo handling equipment, the scrappage requirements have been relaxed as of September 2022 for that sector only. Next slide. Vouchers are designed to cover the incremental cost difference between a traditional diesel vehicle and zero emission vehicles. So vouchers are available for medium and heavy duty vehicles, including trucks, transit buses, paratransit shuttle buses, school buses, and port cargo handling equipment. As you can see, vouchers are available for vehicles in classes 4 through 8, with the amounts varying between $100,000 and $385,000. Individual voucher amounts are determined on a case-by-case basis. So this table is detailing the remaining program funding available in each vehicle type as of March 2023. As you can see, a total of $24.7 million of Volkswagen funding is still available, with the largest portion of that being the transit bus segment at $11.4 million. There is funding available in all classes at the moment. Next slide, please. Thank you. As previously mentioned, fleets aren't required to navigate the voucher process alone. The program is designed to involve multiple parties, including manufacturers and contractors such as dealers or vendors. Eligible fleets include commercial, nonprofit, or non-federal governmental fleets that use the point-of-sale voucher to purchase or lease new battery electric vehicles. On the right-hand side here, we're showing you the process to apply for a voucher. So the manufacturer will submit the vehicle eligibility application, thereby putting the vehicle on the eligible vehicles list. The fleet purchases a battery electric vehicle from a contractor and identifies the vehicle for scrappage. The contractor then submits the voucher application. NYSERDA reviews the application and reserves the funding for that purchase. The contractor completes the voucher redemption with documentation, and NYSERDA reviews the documentation and issues payments to the contractor after delivery of the vehicle. Next slide, please. As part of the webinar today, we thought you'd enjoy hearing the experiences of a fleet that went through the voucher application process. So Wegmans is a supermarket chain that was founded in Rochester, New York, and they received CMAQ funding for 4 Class 8 electric yard tractors. These vehicles are used to move cargo around the shipping yard. So Matt Harris, the sustainability area manager, provided with a testimonial about his experiences through the program. So we asked him, what's your initial impression of your electric vehicles? And his response was that the drivers prefer them over the diesels for a number of reasons: dependability, quiet, no vibration, ease of charging, and they're well equipped with reliable comforts that do not require as much maintenance as diesel yard horses. We also asked him, how does the performance stack up against diesel? The power is comparable, he said. Maintenance is near zero for the electric vehicles, and we've been told that one of our yard trucks indicates that it's in the top 5th in run hours for any yard truck in the US today. That means that the vehicle has been used as much or more than most of the other diesel yard trucks. So they get used very heavily, which is great. We also asked him what motivates Wegmans to pursue electric vehicles. And he told us that they're clean and dependable, and they're a good alternative to diesel without the range concerns of the road EVs. So they've had a really great experience so far with their yard tractors, which we love to hear. Excuse me, a lot of text on this slide, but let's talk about program eligibility. So fleets, as I mentioned earlier, funding is available to commercial, nonprofit, and public fleets, excluding federal government fleets. For scrappage, you must have a model year 2009 or older diesel vehicle to be scrapped for each new vehicle. If your fleet does not have scrappage vehicles, you can acquire a vehicle from a third party. And the replacement vehicle must be similar class size to the diesel vehicle that's being scrapped. And you must submit fleet usage reports for 3 years following voucher payment on your new vehicle. Next slide, please. So we've talked a lot about vehicle scrappage and the fact that vehicle scrappage is required. So what does this mean? So in order to scrap a vehicle, it must be rendered inoperable by cutting a 3-inch hole in the engine block and disabling the chassis by cutting frame rails completely in half. We have a couple of photographic examples here right for you. We have this really adorable sticker that gets stuck right on the chassis to show that the bore is 3 inches. And you must document this scrappage by completing the New York State DEC vehicle scrappage certification, providing before and after photos to meet the program requirements. The scrappage must occur after the voucher application is approved. Specifically for electric transit and school buses, there's an additional requirement of being domiciled or operating within a ½ mile of a disadvantaged community. We have a link built into the presentation for the tool to determine whether or not the fleet is located in a disadvantaged community. And on the right-hand side here, this is just a graphic from that tool that shows a proposed route with the disadvantaged communities highlighted in purple here. So if the depot is not in a disadvantaged community, the fleet must identify a proposed route and have it approved by NYTVIP as part of the application process. Next slide, please. So once you get your electric vehicle, the next question, of course, is how do I charge it? So New York Truck Voucher Incentive participants are eligible for the Joint Utilities of New York's medium and heavy duty EV Make Ready pilot, which can provide incentives for up to 90% of utility side infrastructure costs. So first you go through the Truck Voucher Incentive Program and get your voucher for your vehicle. And then you would approach this program in order to get funding through your Utilities Make Ready portal. Important to note here that the pilot covers the utility side infrastructure such as transformers, conductors, distribution network, and meters, and does not cover the charging station itself. Next slide, please. All right, so we threw a lot of information at you very quickly. Hopefully I wasn't speaking too quickly for everyone, but we have had a few questions come in through the Q&A, and we are happy to answer those. Continue to submit those as well. So as I mentioned, the first question that we were asked was, will this meeting recording be released? And yes, absolutely. Everyone who is registered for the webinar today will receive a copy of the presentation and a recording after the webinar. So the question was asked regarding funding. A slide showed breakdown of funding available per vehicle category. Is the total funding amount for Class 8 heavy-duty trucks $770,000? Natalie answered yes. The remaining funding in the Class 8 bucket is $770,000. We had a question about school buses. Our school district no longer has 2009 or older buses to scrap, so we rely on CMAQ funding. However, there's no funding in the CMAQ category. How come the CMAQ funding pot is empty? What's the outlook for the future? And Adam had an answer in the chat as well. The CMAQ pot is...
Jenny.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, if you don't mind. I'll just extrapolate a little bit on that answer because it's hard to answer that.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
right.
No, so for anyone wondering about school bus New York State Bond Act money, so we expect the TVIP program expects to receive a pretty good portion of this $500 million that is allocated for it. What we don't know yet is when the funds will be available, because that has to come through the state comptroller's office and then issued to us. And then what we will probably end up doing is implementing potentially some program changes that, to administer the dollars. And what probably will happen is there'll be money set aside for the vehicles themselves. So like the program operates today, but we may either integrate a component to this program that also allows for charging infrastructure, or we might choose to create a separate program that funds that. In terms of the vehicles, and because I know the question will be asked, will there be scrappage required? I think we are looking to have a more flexible program if the funds are not from Volkswagen. And so that's, something we have to figure out over the next couple months but again, we're waiting from state guidance on when funds would be available, more funds would be available for school bus.
Absolutely. Thanks for elaborating on that. And I do want to acknowledge that Chandu says in the chat, now is when school budgets are being determined and that the bond ballots are going to be done in May. So it's very, very soon going to be too late for this year's budget cycle, understanding that New York does have the requirement that each of the school bus purchases must be approved on a ballot. Question, will there be more funding coming soon for Class 4 through 7 trucks? Will CMAQ funding come again soon? Adam, if you want to take this one.
Yeah, we've been in conversation with our partners at State Department of Transportation about the CMAQ dollars. We, continue to work with them on getting more. So far, the conversation hasn't been too successful, mostly because, as we are told at the federal level, they are really enforcing very, very strict Buy America restrictions on that funding, which, as we understand those rules today, that doesn't really, there's not much on the market that would work. So we're kind of trying to get a better understanding if there will be any waivers for that. And that kind of determines, if funding will be allowed. But in the meantime, we don't have a timeline on whether or not we'll be getting additional no scrap CMAQ dollars.
Fantastic. Thank you for that answer. A question submitted anonymously. Do scrappage requirements also apply to repowered vehicles? I believe the answer there is yes, because any funding coming through the Volkswagen Mitigation Fund does require scrappage.
Yeah, I can take this one a little bit more. So yes, what Jenny just said. And similarly to the pictures of the engine being destroyed, the diesel engine has to be shown through documentation that it is rendered unusable. And it's the same thing. So you keep the chassis, but you would destroy the engine.
Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate the elaboration there. Are there any updates or changes to the implementation manual?
We will be coming out Soon with some changes to the implementation manual, considering that the version right now has CMAC language in it. So we will be coming out soon with an implementation manual updated without the CMAC language. So yes.
Not so much a question, but I really appreciate Zach highlighting in the Q&A that there is an EV workforce development survey that's currently open through tomorrow. That is a partnership between CalSTART and NYU. So trying to understand what fleets are going to need for the transition to electric vehicles. So if you have a few minutes, please do take the development survey. Thanks for highlighting that, Zach. EPA is expected to release a complementary program. Do you have any insight on this, especially about ability to combine funding? Not sure if this is specifically on the clean school bus side or the medium and heavy duty docket, but I see Adam came off mute, so.
Sure, that's a good question. You know, as we understand the EPA program, you know, they kind of determined the projects and released them this year. I think there's going to be more funding in the coming years for those. We coordinate with EPA, but and we certainly allow participants to use EPA funding in TVIP projects. The only thing, though, is that we still only fund the incremental costs, so we won't fund beyond that. So if you get a, you know, let's say an EPA grant to cover 50% of the incremental cost, we're not, you know, we'll still go up to the 80 or 90 depending on your vehicle class, but we're not going to go beyond that. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Question about leasing. So 2 units were funded last year for one of the customers. The application submitted was for the end user, the customer, but the intention had been to lease. So just looking for clarification to understand that if the customer's intent is to lease, should the application be in the leasing company's name or the end user's name? Looking for clarification.
So the applications are submitted by the contractor, and the contractor is the dealer or vendor that is selling the end fleet, the vehicle. So it would be the leasing company because they are the dealer or vendor that is selling or leasing the vehicle to the fleet.
Thank you. Is there any effort to more rapidly update the OGS list of school buses that school districts are permitted to buy? The industry is evolving rapidly, but the OGS list is falling behind.
You know, I don't know if we have an answer to that. I know OGS is going through a whole process for a number of, you know, initiatives on, you know, zero emission fleets and then school buses. You know, we could probably get back to you on that, but you know, I'm not too sure on, you know, what they are thinking on that one. And then Jenny, I think there is a question right above from Keenan.
Oh, yes, thank you. So working with Novabus in upstate New York, they got a $130 million grant to manufacture 5 new electric zero emission buses. Keenan here is connected to integrate hemp fiber bioplastic seats and wall panels produced in New York. Really cool. Would New York supply incentives to build out the buses using stronger, lighter weight, recyclable, carbon sequestering hemp bioplastic material for such buses? And if so, what avenue would be appropriate to obtain such funding?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So we, not through this particular program, but NYSERDA has, you know, one of our mainstays historically has been research and development grants. And this program is under the Clean Transportation Department, and we do have R&D solicitations that come out from time to time, and we funded you know, R&D projects kind of in this, you know, similar to this. So I don't have a timeline of when those are all being released, but I would say, you know, if, you know, first of all, if you have an interesting project and you want to let us know, you know, feel free to contact us, but also just check our research R&D funding opportunities section of our website, and that's the best avenue for something like that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting project. I like that. Can you repeat your answer to the leasing question again, Natalie? Did you say that the lessor would need to be the dealer and the lessee would need to be the end user?
Yep, and I am typing an answer right now as well.
Perfect. Excellent. Does NYSERDA require the proof of payments, so in the financial documents section, to be linked to the invoice number, same as HVIP, before approving the vouchers for redemption? Not sure what that question is asking.
I was going to ask for more specifics on that as well. Whoever put that in the chat, do you mind putting some more specifics?
While we await for some more specifics around that. School buses which receive funding have an 8,000 mile per year driving requirement. Our district is in a geographically small area, and all in-district routes, i.e. bigger buses, are unable to meet this requirement. Would new funding be more flexible in this respect? Adam, I don't know if your previous answer of, that the Bond Act funds are currently being determined requirements as far as operation and scrappage are being determined. So appreciate that insight. I also see that Adam is typing an answer to one of the questions in the chat as well. So
sorry, I was being bad and not paying attention. I was in fact answering another question.
That's completely fine.
Is this the one? Is this from Shandu again?
Yeah, Shandu, about the 8,000 mile driving requirement, whether those requirements would be relaxed in future funding opportunities. And what I had said was that you had already addressed that the Bond Act funding, the requirements for that are still under advisement. So appreciate the insight.
Yeah, if it's a VW thing, I think maybe this person said that they might not qualify because they don't meet the disadvantaged community requirement. But yeah, I think it's safe to say we are still in the process of determining the rules around these kinds of things. So, feedback is welcome, and that's a good point, because we do understand, every district is different in size and in needs. So we certainly don't want to create a program that's just, a one size fits all. And so this kind of feedback is helpful.
Absolutely. There was a request to share the link to the NYU workforce survey. I believe I can send a chat to everyone. So let me go ahead and drop that in here. This link was also in the most recent newsletter that we issued last week. And as I said, it does close tomorrow, so appreciate anyone who's interested in the survey participating.
So I see a question of what does the timeline look like to get a new vehicle listed as eligible for the program? So I can take this one. It honestly depends. So the process is the entity submits an eligible vehicle application. The Voucher Help Center reviews the documentation, and that could be the first cog in the process. So if you don't submit the right documentation or you need some fixing in your application, then there's going to be some back and forth between the VHC and the person who submitted the application. If not, and it's fine, then it'll go through. Usually takes about a week to review, week to 2 weeks, and then that's with no back and forth. And then it will go to NYSERDA for review. We give a week to 2 weeks to review. So anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks without any back and forth. It could also be faster than that. So that's kind of the timeline.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Appreciate that. So following up on this whole linking proof of payments thing. So Anonymous said HVIP, which is the California voucher program, recently introduced a new requirement for linking the proof of payments to the final invoices with the invoice number noted in the remittance statement or the wire transfer check. This is adding a lot of background administrative work with the purchasers to make sure that we can implement that linkage. Is this also a requirement for NYSERDA voucher redemption?
I would say no. I don't think that we are requiring folks to link the invoice number on the wire transfer.
Sounds good. I agree. It's a very specific question, but.
Jenny, I think there's a Steve Grillo that asked a follow-up question.
Yes, yeah, I saw that you were typing an answer. I wasn't sure if that was going to be answered in that way, but so can we explain the answer further related to NYSERDA portion covering the cost if EPA funds are used? So speaking about kind of the stacking of funding sources.
Yeah, so I'll try to be a little more clear. This program will only cover the incremental cost between the new electric or fuel cell zero emission vehicle, between that and what otherwise the diesel vehicle would be. And we cover that, anywhere between 80 to 100% of the cost. So if you're buying a bus, for example, that costs like $1 million, and let's say you have an EPA grant that is, $800,000, and you want to apply it towards the bus, like this program will only cover the incremental costs. So anything beyond that, we won't apply to it. So if your grant is covering the majority of the cost of one bus anyway, we wouldn't cover it. But if your grant was only, say, for $50,000 for that same bus, then whatever extra is part of that incremental cost, we could cover that. So we just don't cover beyond the incremental, the other incremental cost of the vehicle. Hopefully that was a little bit clearer. So
yeah, I think that was a really good example, right? If you have $1 million bus and the difference between the diesel bus and that $1 million electric bus is $800,000, that $800,000 can be covered by either the EPA funding or TVIP funding. But whatever you get out of EPA funding, say you got $500,000 out of EPA funding, then you'd still have $300,000 left of differential cost. That $300,000 could be covered by the truck voucher incentive program.
Yeah, I think you might have said that better than I did. So thank you.
Hey, glad to help.
I do also want to mention that in our implementation manual, it does state that you cannot go past the incremental cost with both vouchers. And if we do find out that you went past the incremental cost with both vouchers, we might have to ask for payment back, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, that makes it really uncomfortable for everyone. All right. So Chandu mentions in the chat that they've spoken with Vinny regarding the electric school buses and had provided some feedback to him regarding TVIP program for electric school buses. Adam, I don't know if you and Vinny have had conversation about that. I'd imagine that you probably have.
Of that specific feedback, I don't know, but I talk to Vinny pretty regularly, and we're in communication. So I'm sure, if he didn't, mention you or your district by name, that he included it. And we are, as we, think about the next iteration of this program with the School Bus Bond Act money, like, we are connected and all talking together. So in other words, if you're talking to Vinny, that will come to my side of the house as well.
Excellent. I think that is all the questions that we currently have in the Q&A box. Does anyone have any further questions? Anything you'd like us to elaborate on? Any slides you'd like us to back up to, take a look at? I know I did speak pretty quickly through all of the slides. As I mentioned multiple times here, we will share the presentation with you, and all of the information that was covered today is also on the Truck Voucher Program website. Going once. Adam and Natalie, anything else that you'd like to add from the NYSERDA side today before we wrap up?
No, just that thanks everyone for joining. We know that this is the funding we currently have, and we're always looking for more funding. There's a lot going on right now with the joint utilities. with looking at how they're going to go about planning for, medium and heavy duty electrification. We're all aware that it's a different, much different animal than the light duty vehicles that we've been incentivizing over the last several years. So, we have a set amount of funding today, but that doesn't mean that's what it's going to be tomorrow. So just, stay tuned, and we look forward to working with everybody.
Yeah, I do want to add on that. And I did answer a couple questions with the link to our website. All program updates about funding will be on our website, which is, I can also drop that in the chat with everyone.
Excellent. Again, really want to thank everyone for registering and for attending today. Hopefully we've been able to answer some of your questions, provide clarity on some of the things that you're wondering about. If you think of anything afterwards, please don't hesitate to contact the Voucher Help Center listed on the screen. And finally, a reminder that we will be providing you with the presentation, which has live links in it, as well as this meeting recording afterwards as part of your registration for the webinar today. Thank you all so much for attending. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thanks again.